Hey guys, so most guitar players spend years practicing scales, licks, exercises, but still don't really end up sounding like themselves. Now, I don't think this has much to do with talent, but I do think there are a few specific reasons why that happens, and that is what we're going to talk about in today's video. It's important to understand that this video is not criticism, okay? It's something I've observed over time, both in myself and in my students, and also fellow guitar players. Um, the thing is, developing your own sound is actually a much deeper process than one may imagine, and it is not just about learning more material, as you will know by the end of this video. Okay, so I'm going to mention 5 points which are usually where the problem arises, and then I'm going to talk about what worked for me, or like what you can do to actually counter this particular issue. So let's get into that. So, point number one, too many licks and not enough language. The thing is, a lot of guitar players spend time collecting licks and vocabulary. I have done that myself. I'm guilty of it, which is very important. Okay, it's important to do that. But the issue is that licks are often practiced as fixed ideas and not as a flexible musical language. What I mean by that is, if you're learning a lick, you need to also understand what kind of chord quality that lick is going to work on, what kind of harmonic motion the lick will work on. What if you move that shape to a different key? What if you try to alter one of the notes, etc. Right? So, since we don't do that, or since a lot of other guitar players don't do that, when they try to improvise, it ends up sounding like one lick after another without any continuity and without any clear musical direction. Now, point number two is practicing shapes instead of sound. This is it's also a pretty fundamental issue, right? Most of the guitar players will practice scale shapes, fretboard patterns, and different positions on the fretboard. But the thing is, music is not visual by nature, is it? It's oral. So if you're not hearing what you're playing internally, it becomes very difficult to develop personal voice, right? You end up playing what your fingers know, not what you hear. Point number three, which I feel is a very important one, and it's a huge problem. I have definitely I will call myself a victim to that myself, okay? That is ignoring rhythm and phrasing. Okay, maybe phrasing I've never really ignored, but rhythm I have ignored quite a bit. And most of us, we focus on note choices, harmony, and scales, but the thing is, phrasing and rhythm are what makes something sound like you or me, whatever. Two people can play the same set of notes, but then the way they approach the timing, the articulation, or the kind of space they add between their ideas completely changes the identity of that particular line. Point number four, this is basically about not leaving enough space in your soloing or just in your composition, improvisation, whatever. It's like we have a tendency to try and fill up every single moment in our composition or improvisation or whatever we're doing, right? But space is really where ideas breathe, phrasings develop, and personality comes through. Without space, everything starts sounding dense and generic. And finally, point number five, which is too much input and not enough reflection. There is like an endless amount of content now, right? Lessons, reels, YouTube videos, etc. So people are constantly consuming new information but not spending enough time sitting with it, internalizing it, or making it their own. Your sound develops when you try to reflect upon the things that you're trying to learn, right? It's not just about the input. I started off with YouTube myself, but the difference between me starting off with YouTube back then versus the current scenario, or like the scenario that has been in existence for the past maybe 10 years or so, is that when I started off, there were lesser videos and there was much lesser material available online, right? For the first easily 4 to 5 years of my guitar journey, I was self-taught until I actually started learning from a guitar teacher. So during that whole time, all I used to do was whatever question I had in mind, I would literally just write that on the Google search bar, right? Like, for example, what is a mode? That's what I'm thinking. I literally write what is a mode. Or let's say I remember I used to search stuff like, why is Alan Holdsworth well known? I will just type that, and then I go through why Alan Holdsworth was well known, etc. Right. So literally, whatever your question is in the head, you type that. I used to get relevant information. Right. Like I've been through forums. I have bought or downloaded PDFs as well. I have also collected material from fellow musicians I've met over the years or teachers. I've studied at Berklee College of Music, so I've had a lot of material from that as well, right? And also other teachers that I've had before going to Berkeley, they have also shared materials with me or just like shared things to listen to, like albums to listen to, the things to look for, etc. And all of that together is basically what has created me, as in like the me that you see today, right? So these were the five important points. Now, your question might be like, okay, so what actually helps in that case, right? So let's talk about that. What actually helps? Here are a few things. Number one is spending time with fewer ideas, but with more depth. Okay, fewer ideas with more depth, because when it comes to improvisation or composition, it is not as much about how much you know, but it's also about how you end up using what you already know. Number two, try to hear before you play. I can't speak for everybody, but for me, my journey into music started off as me being a bathroom singer, right? So singing is basically where it started off. So from the very beginning, I've just tried to sing ideas and tried to translate that on the instrument, on the guitar. Now, before I picked up the guitar, also, actually, I used to play the mandolin in school. So I had a similar thing there as well, right? I did not learn the mandolin as seriously, but I used to play in school for our extracurricular activities. And the kind of songs that they used to teach us, this person was a Hindustani classically trained teacher. So he used to actually sing us, he used to sing the syllables, and we used to learn it by ear and then figure it out on the other instrument. He never showed us what fret to play it on. It was not like fret numbers given on the mandolin. And I think that really stayed with me as I progressed in my journey, and it still stays with me. And that's also what I try to teach, right? Next, work consciously on phrasing and rhythm. I cannot emphasize enough on that. Okay, rhythm is everything. You can know thousands and thousands of scales and arpeggios and everything on this planet, but then if your rhythm is not on point, you are not going to have any groove at all. Even if you're talking about playing free time, even free time follows rhythm, right? It may not be straight rhythm, but then there is breathing involved over there. And finally, repeat and develop ideas instead of moving on too quickly. This basically means that, let's say you have learned what the melodic minor scale is through a YouTube video. Now, you may feel that, okay, I now know the melodic minor scale. But no, you do not know the melodic minor scale yet, because you will only know the melodic minor scale when you're able to actually create music with it, right? And it's not like you have to create a piece of song which is entirely based on the melodic minor, but at least use bits and pieces of it. Maybe extract some harmony out of it, use that in your composition. So, everything I've mentioned so far are things I spend quite a bit of time working on with my students in my private one-on-one lessons and my private master classes as well. Not just what to play, but also how to actually develop a musical voice on the instrument. This is something that I've had to work on myself over time, and I still do work on these things. A lot of my music that I've released, like tunes like Space in Between Knowledge, or let's say That Little Girl, right? It comes out of that process of trying to leave more space, trust the moment, and not overplay, which is very hard to do as an improviser, because you are composing in the moment and it can be very challenging, but then the outcome is also very satisfying. And the kind of trance you're in at that moment is addictive. If you'd like to check out my music, like these two tunes or any of the other tunes, they're all available on my Bandcamp, and that's also the best way to support me directly. So those who have been doing that, thank you very much. I really love you for that. developing your own sound takes time. Okay, it's less about how much you know and more about how deeply you have internalized all of these ideas that I've spoken about, all of the concepts I've spoken about. If you're interested in working on this in a more focused way, you can check out my online lessons. Okay, you can, or my private master classes. My details are in the description box below. Get in touch with me, I'll share all the details, and we meet at a convenient time, right? And if you would like to support the channel, you can also just download my music from Bandcamp. If you have come this far, a like, a share would be great, and a subscribe would be even better to my channel. Okay, this is a completely independent channel, not sponsored by anything. So yeah, I've already told you how you can support the channel. This is another free way of supporting the like this particular channel. And yeah, thank you for watching. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What do you feel is the biggest obstacle in developing your own sound on the guitar? Comment down below. Or if you have any other questions as well, comment down below. I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.